In this video, I'll be covering what's new in Hach WIMS 7.6.4 to be released March 2016. The major highlights of this version are improvements to monthly data entry. We can now load up to any date range up to 1 year, and when you're using the form entering data, if you have the privileges, you can save your layout changes. So if you resize a column, add variables in it, you can save that layout. You don't have to go back to design. Also added several spread functions, which I'm just going to cover here. CCPP returns a water stability index similar to LSI, Langelier's saturation index, given a pH, alkalinity, calcium, and water temperature. So it's just a new calculation for water stability. We also added a workday function similar to Excel's, which allows you to return a workday that is an indicated number of working days before or after a date that you pass in. This way, if you want to report only Wednesdays, it will also understand holidays that you can pass into the function to figure out number of work days between and all those kinds of things. Convert and convert Z are functions that just convert a number from one unit to another. The Z function works with variables that have the data qualifiers, such as converting gallons to acre feet instead of having to look up the conversion factor. There are many of these conversions in there. You'll have to look at help to see all the different ways it can do. SFC returns the number of significant figures for a value. So in a cell, if you're showing a number of significant figures and you want to format another cell like it, this helps you do that. DPC, very similar to that function, but it returns the number of decimal places instead of significant figures. And again, I suggest you look at help. Just search on any of these function names. We've also added the ability to auto log out idle client sessions, and I'll cover that in more detail, but it allows you essentially to say clients that aren't using the software will auto log them out, helping you recover those concurrent users. So people that walk away from their computer for 2 or 3 days, now you can go ahead and get those concurrent licenses back. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the software now. I'm running 7.6.4, and let's go ahead and look at monthly data entry. So here's an operator log. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. It's going to load the form up. Now, several improvements have been made. The first of which is if I come in here, I can pick any date range. So I can say, well, let's look at year to date. And now I can see multiple months of data in one form. Before, you could only move month to month. We've added some shortcut buttons. So if I want to add in a variable, let's say into this influence section, I click here. This is just like insert column, right click insert column, and I can go into influent and say I want to add influent BOD into this form. Goes ahead and inserts that column in for me. I can also resize columns or multiple columns. This is something that's been added previously, but this is called a divider column. Can also resize that. If I want to rearrange columns, right now notice I'm in select mode. If I double click, I'm in drag and drop mode, meaning I can drag and drop column headers. So if I want to just rearrange these, move BOD here, move effluent chlorine residual here, I can do that. So it's a lot easier to rearrange your columns now. Also, we allow you to set the header up while we're using the form itself. So if you go to Format Options, it's going to allow you to pick what you want in your header and set the order that they're displayed in. So if I don't want the variable number, I go ahead and uncheck that box and it disappears. If I want to put the units as the top heading row, I just simply click on it and move it up and down. In this case, I'm just going to go with location, variable name, and units. I'm going to choose my statistics. I can change my fonts here and decide what entry groups I'm going to put it in. Go ahead and click OK. My form is now set up. If I take it out of drag and drop mode, it will combine always the top header if, like in this case, these are all 3 for influence, so it merged these cells. Same with aeration basin. It can look a lot nicer that way. Once I'm done designing a form or entering the data and I want to keep this, we've added 2 new menu options, File, Save Layout. So if I do that, it's going to overwrite my operator log form with this new layout. I can also use File Save Layout As to rename this form or save it as a different name, put it in a different group if I want to leave the original alone. That's really it for monthly data entry. There's a lot more to play around with in here, but essentially the two key points are that you can load any date range you want, and when you make changes to the form, now you don't have to go to design. You can just save those as you go. Again, providing you have design rights to the group that this form is in. Now I'm going to cover auto logout. For that, I'm going to bring up our help system. Here are the release notes for 7.6.4, and more than I've highlighted, obviously, are bug fixes and other minor features that we've added. But in here, we have a link to auto logout of idle client sessions. So right here, it takes you through doing it. Essentially what you do is you go in and set in your, as the super user, you go into your admin console and set your logout idle sessions after X minutes. The next time users log in, they'll get a countdown timer here. This countdown timer right here says that I've been idle for 1:19 and I'll be logged out at 30 minutes, what I set it to. If I've gone 20 minutes, or I'm sorry, 90% of the time that without moving the mouse or doing anything in WIMS, it will come up and warn you. It'll hide your dashboard and say, warning, you're about to be logged out due to inactivity, and then eventually you will be logged out. We do keep track of this in action history. If you want to look at all the idle logouts and what's happening, this is what's happening. It is logged here, so that if users are complaining I'm getting logged out and they say they've only been doing it for 5 minutes, you can see whether somebody's walking by and logging them out, or is the software actually doing it. That's it for 7.6.4.